Hey, well, welcome everybody. I am Janelle and this is Nathan, my husband, and we are so happy to have you here. We brought on some real rock stars to talk to you about peptides. And if you're like us, peptides are everywhere. And this is Peptide 101 for you. Just real briefly, peptides are short chain amino acids. They're in our body naturally and they do very specific things. They carry messages to our cells which lead to fat burning, healing, hormone regulations, all kinds of great stuff. But since we have actual real experts here to listen to, I want to introduce to you first of all Dr. Angela Rahm. She's a wonderful person. I've gotten to become friends with her. She sure knows her stuff. And she's going to be talking about GLP-1 GIP. 16 years ago, her life took a dramatic turn when her son was diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. She walked away from her career as a franchise owner and she became a naturopathic doctor in Wisconsin. She's the co-author of an international best-selling book, and she owns and co-owns two weight loss clinics and wellness clinics. And she helps women mostly who are stuck, exhausted, and frustrated with their bodies navigating the changes. And she wants to help guide them into her best life. So therefore, she often prescribes peptides. So we'd like to turn it over to you, Angela.
Well, thank you. That was very sweet. I'm very excited to be here tonight to talk about this class of peptides, which is one of my favorite. And I just really appreciate the time that I get to spend with you guys today. So I'm going to talk really fast because I am going to honor your time and we are going to power through this. All right, for the power of peptides. So right now, I think when people hear GLP-1 or like Ozempic, there's a lot of noise that we hear. We see the headlines, the fear-mongering, and really the extremes. Everyone gets, everyone kind of puts all these things, they lump them together. And honestly, it's creating a lot of confusion for people. And so my goal tonight is just to slow this down and make it make sense. And because when people understand what these peptides are actually doing in the body, and that was a great explanation. Thank you for doing that. That cut some time off of mine. The fear and the judgment tend to fall away. So let's talk about GLP-1 and the GLP-1-GIP, because we want to clarify what these names mean. So GLP-1 on its own is semaglutide. This is the active ingredient that people are going to recognize from Ozempic, and we all know the songs, and Wegovy. It's a single agonist that primarily works on appetite regulation, the slowing of digestion, and blood sugar control. And so that's the single. Now we go to the dual agonist, and that's a GLP-1 with the GIP, known as Tirzepatide. Now, this is the active ingredient that is in Mounjaro and Zepbound, and this is where things really kind of start to change, and it's where it changed for me. Tirzepatide now, what you need to know is it does everything that semaglutide does, and then more, because now you're working with two metabolic hormone signals instead of just that one. So what I see clinically is that semaglutide, to kind of sum it up, semaglutide helps people eat less and kind of feel full longer. It can help even with anxiety, which is unbelievable, right? I mean, so many people struggle with that, especially when they struggle with their weight. But Tirzepatide goes a little bit deeper than semaglutide. So it helps the body just respond better in the way that it's designed to do. The way, if everything were perfect in our lives, it's how it was supposed to, react and behave and signal. And so that's why so many of I like to call them my hot mess hormonal women. And this is probably some of you who are new to this concept, but you've probably been feeling like you do so many things right for years, and you just don't see any changes. But now with this, you can finally feel the difference. And it really starts with that brain and gut connection. So we have to take a moment to just address this in this short time. But this is one of my favorite parts because so many people are surprised by what I'm about to say. But these receptors, that these agonists, they're not just in the pancreas, they're in the brain, they're in the gut, they're throughout the body. They influence the reward centers, the impulse control, the mood, and our stress response. And that's why people say things like, I feel calmer, the food noise is gone, I'm not obsessing anymore. And honestly, that's not willpower. That is brain chemistry shifting. So when we talk about the gut side of things with these peptides, they improve the gut-brain connection. They're going to reduce that inflammatory signaling. For instance, a calmer gut is going to send a calmer signal to the brain, which is why many people notice improvements in anxiety and even depression. So these compounds, they've been studied for brain health and neuroprotective for decades. And this is why the conversation even goes further and beyond just weight loss, because that's what we think of when we think of these. And there's kind of the new way of looking at these peptides happened a couple years ago, and there's now microdosing. So I'm going to kind of address, I want to separate these two and kind of have, because there are two different conversations between microdosing and weight loss dosing. So microdosing, it's kind of new to the health field and new relative in like the last couple of years. And so this isn't about pushing your body. It's about clearing the noise, the blocks and the signaling. And it helps the brain, the gut, and metabolism communicate again. We've lost that signaling, that should be happening in the body as we age, and maybe our diets and all that aren't perfect. And so when inflammation quiets and that signaling can improve, the body can finally now respond. Because honestly, if your body is full with inflammation and all these blocks and bad eating, all that, it doesn't care if you want to lose weight. It's going to be trying to keep you upright during the day and hopefully repairing and rejuvenating what it can at night. So microdosing is great for just improving overall health and can be really appropriate for those who have maybe less than 20 pounds that they want to take off. They might be that stubborn 20 pounds, right? Or 15 pounds, or even those last 10, or that little stubborn area. Now, when we talk about weight loss dosing, this can be incredibly helpful for people that are carrying 20 pounds or more stubborn pounds, or even hundreds of pounds. We see people who are a couple 100 pounds overweight. And, that is, anyone who is struggling with weight, it's usually due to either a combination of or even one of these, but insulin resistance, inflammation, and definitely, some hormonal stuff going on, especially with women, right? So the goal here, it's not rapid weight loss, because that's not healthy. It's actually, it wants to get the signaling going again. We want to create a metabolic environment where the body now feels safe to release fat while preserving muscle. Key to longevity, muscle, right? So when dosing is done right and the expectations are in check, because nobody wants to lose 40 pounds in a month because you're going to look like a skeleton, right? So we want to support these, when we're taking these peptides, these Tirzepatides and such, we want to support with appropriate diet like protein and resistance training and good lifestyle habits. And so where things kind of go wrong, and I'll be honest, for a long time, I followed the mainstream narrative with these injections and I thought they were dangerous. But I've learned is that it's the people who are being overdosed. They don't have the guidance. They don't have the muscle preservations, and they have no lifestyle support. And I have to address this, and then I'm going to just share my little personal story. But when people hear the word peptide, we've got compounding versions and we got big pharma, but they often think either like a research peptide or mass production by big pharma, AKA a drug called Ozempic. And that's not what we're talking about here. These come from FDA regulated 503 compounding pharmacies. So the same type of pharmacies that women who have trusted for decades for bioidentical hormones and desiccated thyroid medications. That's where we're getting these from. And they're physician prescribed, carefully dosed and monitored, not mass produced and not experimental. And that kind of oversight is what makes them safe and super effective. And for me, I've been dieting since I was in 5th grade, always restricting myself, and, just for years, just really had to have my diet dialed in. I had to stay active. But when menopause hit, the rules changed for me. What I was doing before wasn't working and my body just wasn't responding. And now, age 60, I will tell you, I will never be on a diet again. And so I started microdosing with Tirzepatide in February. I've taken some breaks. I've spaced out my injections, but it was so great that I've gained muscle. I'm stronger than I've been in years. I've lost fat percent. And really, I beat the menopausal, let's say, hell that women go through. And remember, peptides are not shortcuts, especially these GLPs and GIPs, the Tirzepatides, semaglutides. They are tools that help the body communicate again. And after decades of stress and metabolic strain, you can finally figure the way to work smarter not harder for your goals. And I thank God every day for Tirzepatide. So thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you, Dr. Angela. That was great. Next up, we have Dr. Amy Maynard. She's going to talk about NAD+. A college professor with a PhD in healthcare administration and a background as an elite rodeo rider, Amy serves as a holistic health coach in her wellness businesses, where she helps people achieve meaningful, sustained health transformations. A wife and mother of 3, Amy leads with faith, discipline, and purpose in business and in life. Amy, take it away.
For senior women who keep going strong, discover lightweight, all-day comfort in your new wardrobe savior. 1. Instant lift, ultra-wide straps and band pull your shoulders upright and lift your bust up to 3 inches. Fixed mold cuffs and inner slings for the perfect round shape. 2. Smooth shaping. Super wings smooth away underarm and back bulges. Confidence comes easy. Layer it under your favorite top or wear it solo. 3. Secure comfort. Soft, stretchy, durable, and breathable. No more slipping straps or constant adjusting. This bra is a gift for women who never compromise on comfort. The biggest sale of the season is on. 80% off today. Stock is flying. Grab yours before it's gone.
All right. Thank you guys so much for having me tonight. It's such an honor to be on this call with you guys. And that was a very nice introduction. I have a very full and busy, great life. And so I'm excited to talk about NAD Plus with you guys because it really has been such a great tool for me in my life and just increasing my capacity, handling life with grace. That's what I always want to look back and look at different seasons of my life and, be able to say that, okay, I did handle that with grace. And NAD Plus is something that really helps me do that. So I'm going to keep the science pretty light here and give you some more, hopefully some real life stuff. But just put simply, NAD plus is a naturally occurring molecule that acts as a coenzyme. It is in every single cell of the body, and we absolutely need it to live. So it's very important. And so it does create energy by producing that ATP, which is basically gasoline for your body to run. It supports cellular repair. It helps with better DNA expression, which is going to help with that aging process. Just every single cell of your body is being renewed and repaired, with this molecule. And the big one for me, I think, especially in my season of life, is just helps with that stress resilience, just building up a resilience to stress and just improving your capacity. So, I have 3 young kids. Their ages 8, 5, and 1. And so just the patience level, right? To be present and to, be a fun mom, but also, parenting is hard work if you want good kids. So, that is the aspect that I just love NAD plus for. So one big thing with it, or, one reality, I should say, is it does decline with age. And, something that can even accelerate that is chronic stress, inflammation, sleep deprivation. So again, I'm kind of a postpartum mama here that, sleep isn't predictable. It's not always consistent. So again, this is just a tool that has helped me in this season of my life. I know there's people on here that are in my season and there's people on here that aren't in this season. And as we all know, every season of life has their certain demands on them. So let's see now. The analogy that I absolutely love with NAD plus is just thinking of that cell phone analogy. We've all gotten a new phone and you plug it in, especially after you've had an old phone. You plug it in, you're so impressed by how quickly it charges, how long and how strong the battery lasts. But as we age, those batteries, they just weaken. And you're constantly plugging it back in. You're constantly, you're trying to get 5 minutes just to get a little bit more time out of it. And again, that's just the concept behind NAD plus. NAD plus helps improve the battery, which is your cells. It's not a quick fix. It is not a stimulant. It is not, we're all reaching for caffeine that's like plugging something in for just a little while to just get a little charge, right? But the NAD plus is what actually improves your battery so that you have the capacity to deal with life's demands. So, when I first started taking NAD plus, and what I still continue to see is just more steady energy, that clearer thinking, a more relaxed nervous system, which I know we could all use. And then the biggest thing that I just really noticed that was just so big for me was I just started to see the world like clearer and like with more color. The grass was greener, the sky was bluer, the flowers were more vibrant. And that is really, that it's just the way I viewed the world just improved and everything just seemed more positive. So, and that matters to me as a wife and as a mom of 3 young kids. That's how I want to show up. When I don't have that, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I'm short fused. And, when I look back on that again, I don't want that to be what my family remembers, right? But also for me, for my motherhood, I don't want to look back and think, man, I could have had more grace in that season. I could have handled that season with more capacity. So, it really just has been a tool for me to meet life's demands with more grace. And I've just been really, really grateful for it.
Wow. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. That was great. Next up, we have Jake Adams. He's going to talk about the Wolverine stack. Jake is a United States Marine veteran, a former bull rider. Wow. A pioneer in orthopedic robotics, and now a leader in surgical technology and nationwide wellness. He helps surgeons master robotics in the operating room and helps patients optimize their health through functional medicine, hormone replacement therapy, and peptides. Jake's life is anchored by his faith, fueled by his family, and lived with stewardship as its center.
Monday.com, the opposite of any work platform we tried in the past. Tried other work management platforms, not naming names. They all suck. Monday, total opposite. Didn't just work, it spread. And people became Monday evangelists. And you know why? Because people actually liked using it. It's not a chore.
Jake, take us away.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Janelle. Thanks, everybody, for having me. And thanks, all you guys, for joining. We've had great speakers so far, and they're spot on with their information about these peptides. My favorite are those, but my ultimate favorite, and I'll get into that why in a couple minutes, is BPC 157 and TB 500. And it's because of the healing and leveraging the body and just all the things that it has done for me personally. And I'll get into my personal story in just a few minutes. But the one thing I want to make clear is, and they've touched on this prior to me talking here, is that a lot of people are just now becoming aware of peptides. The reality is there's peer-reviewed studies for the ones I'm about to talk about going back 20 years. So it's nothing new. Just like insulin was created in the 50s as the first peptide, the BPC 157, TB 500 are doing, I don't want to say miracles, but they're doing miracles for people's lives. So, and they did one for mine. So BPC 157, I'm sure you guys have heard all about it. It stands for body protection compound, and it's derived from a protein that is found in the gastric juice, and its primary role is to repair tissue. It's been studied for ligament and tendon repair, muscle repair, joint recovery, inflammation modulation, and a lot of these things help inflammation. And if we can get rid of the inflammation, our health span and lifespan and just overall daily life joy will go up leaps and bounds. And improve blood flow and angiogenesis, which is basically creating new pathways for blood flow. And when you need to heal or you have an injury, you need that to heal. Your body needs blood supplies. I come from an orthopedic robotics background, hip and knee and orthopedic robotics. And I started taking these peptides before I had a surgery. And the main reason I did that is because I had been in the operating room helping surgeons for 20 years, and I was scared to death. I've never had a broken bone or a surgery or anything. And at 50 years old, I was going in for a total shoulder replacement, and I was scared to death, y'all. I mean, I've seen it all, and I've said, you know what, this is no big deal. But in my case, it was going to happen to me, and I was freaking out. So I started doing everything I could to prepare for the recovery. And one of those things was to start on a regime of BPC 157 and TB 500. So I did a build up to my surgery. I had my right total shoulder replaced at the end of August of this year. I got cleared 2 weeks ago to go back to the gym, and I'm already doing push-ups and full pull-ups. And back to working out. I was recovered after 12 weeks. I was fully released. And so I'm slowly building back strength. What I will tell you that was a blessing for me is I did not have to take one pain pill.
Wow.
And that's a huge deal because my previous wife and I got divorced because she had a back surgery, was addicted to pain medicine, and went off the deep end. And it's a horrible thing to happen to a family. And so I was scared to death that I would have to take pain medicine, and I did not have to take one pain pill after a major surgery that left me with a 4-inch scar on my arm, between my armpit and my collarbone. So it's the real deal. And that's, I could say tons of things about it, but I continue to take it to this day. It helps me recover from my workouts. It helps me recover from long days. It helps with, I have people asking me questions about it all the time, and everybody that tries it loves it. And it's a great combination. The BPC 157 with its recovery properties, and then the TB 500 being systematic to take everything and pull it together in a nice packaged ball that helps you recover and repair. And that's about all I can say about it. I can't say enough good things.
That's fantastic. What a personal testimony. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jake.
And
Thank
you know
you,
what?
guys.
I saw your video. You're doing chin-ups. It's true. Oh, thank you, Jake. And next, we'd like to introduce Callie Horn, and she is going to be speaking on the Tesa-IPA stack. And Callie is a national board certified health and wellness coach with 14 years of experience. Her passion is to help people build lasting health from the inside out. She's been married for 33 years to a sergeant major in the Montana Army National Guard. And she's a proud mother of 4 adult children and a grandmother to 2 and another grandbaby on the way. And she's grounded in faith, service, leadership, family. And she brings wisdom, heart, and real life experience to everything she does. And I know she's going to also tell us that she does some bodybuilding stuff, which is why she loves the stack. So take it away, Kelly.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's actually the reason I chose that in the first place, but I'll get to my story here in just a second. But I love what Jake said about peptides. And I'm honest, I was one of those people like, these are new. We don't know what's going to happen to people's bodies when they start using these. Well, speaking of children, I have one trying to call me right now all time. But the reality is this stack consists of, like, Ipamorelin has been around since 1998 when the first studies started coming out. Tesamorelin since 2008. So they're not new things. They've been used and studied and been effective for a long period of time. And in my personal opinion, Tesamorelin and Ipamorelin is one of the best peptides to pair with your journey on a GLP, because they work synergistically together to help you hold on to muscle and help address visceral fat as you lose weight. And so, like Angela talked about, like, it's super important that we don't just expect a magic thing to happen. We still have to do some work. And it's why I love the community that we have here, because we talk a lot about those things, about putting stress on our muscles to gain muscle and doing the things, eating the proper amount of protein and hydrating, all those things that we would do. And when you do those in conjunction with peptides, they help just compound our success. So those growth hormones, they actually activate the growth hormones in our body. So we have sorry, my daughter, I'm going to kill her. They have a growth hormone releasing hormone and a growth hormone releasing peptide, and they work together. It's kind of like the analogy of putting your key in your car and turning the ignition and then pressing the gas pedal. They work together to help our body with that muscle, keeping the muscle, and also to help our body addressing those that visceral fat. Our growth hormone, just like our hormones in our body, they just decline with age. And so just like, we're talking about menopause and those things that go on in our lives that we're not super excited about, but the peptides tend to dim as well as we age. And in fact, by the time we reach age 60, we have about 10% of the growth hormone in our bodies that we had at puberty. And so having something to come in and just help that process, to improve muscle mass, improve visceral fat loss, to improve brain function and sexual health, to help with our longevity function, skin, hair, nails, and sleep. All of those things are things that I noticed. And so like you mentioned, I've done some fitness competitions. And so I hit 51. We've had massive amount of stress in our life, with my husband and his story. And it just put me into a space where I'm doing all the things, but I'm not getting the results. And I didn't like that I was lifting heavy weights and doing those necessary things, but I could not see definition in my body. And so within about, I would say 3 weeks on the Tesamorelin and Ipamorelin stack, I started noticing that I was leaning out more in my upper body. I started noticing that I would put weight up on the stack and I'd be like, that's not very heavy. And I'd put more on. And I felt like I just had, it's not that I couldn't get tired. It's just that I could recover fast enough and keep going, if that makes sense. I also noticed when I put on a pair of my hunting pants that they were super loose. And for a second, I thought maybe I bought 2 pairs of these. Like I don't recall them being this loose until I scrolled back. And 3 weeks prior, I had put them on and I was kind of busting at the seams in them. I'd ended up losing 1 inch off of my waist and 1/4 inch off everywhere else in my body and gaining about 1/4 inch in my shoulders, which is pretty significant. I'm not a very big person. My husband, on the other hand of things, he hit some pretty scary medical situations in this past year. And it's been really tough. And he did the things like getting good nutrition. He was walking, he was taking good supplements, all of the things, and had a little bit of success. But when he added in the GLP and GIP, he lost about 35 pounds from the middle of August until just the beginning of December. And so then just recently, he's added in this Tesamorelin and Ipamorelin stack as well to address the visceral fat and to help his body. And I can tell you all those things I mentioned, from the muscle gaining to the sexual health and all of the fun stuff that goes along with what human growth hormone is doing, is happening for both of us. And it's been such a huge blessing that this has come across my life and that I've been able to not only impact my personal health, address the health of my husband, but then be able to share it forward and then get onto something like this and learn from every person that has their unique experience. So thank you for having me.
Wow, Callie, thank you so much. That was
story.
so great.
Yeah.
And next, we'd like to welcome Heather Walker, and she's going to be talking about glutathione. Heather has been a physician's assistant for more than 2 decades with experience in women's health and urgent care. She also teaches at the University of Colorado's Physician Assistant Program. She currently works in functional medicine clinic and is excited to help people live healthful and abundant lives. So take it away, Heather.
Go to betterucare.com for a free consultation about ketamine therapy, answer any questions you may have, and to review your medical history. After choosing your package, you will have a virtual appointment with a licensed clinician to personalize a plan just for you. If the clinician determines you're not a good candidate for treatment, you will receive a full.
Thank you. I appreciate the chance to speak tonight. It's awesome. So glutathione is complicated, not in a sciencey way, but because it has so many benefits. Really similar to what Dr. Amy was saying about NAD, but it's a tripeptide. So 3 amino acids that are all going into this glutathione, and 3 main things that I think of it doing, at least that I explain to my patients, is as a master antioxidant. It is a great antioxidant, and it is very helpful for neutralizing free radicals, decreasing oxidative stress, but also actually really supporting cells, just like NAD, like Amy was saying, and really protecting our DNA, which is amazing. So cellular health help. Detoxification is the second main thing that it does. Super supportive for our liver and really helping kind of neutralize some of the toxins and the heavy metals we have, environmental pollutants, all of those things that are coming and are contributing to our aging, unfortunately. And then third, the most important, or not the most important, the third thing that I find to be really awesome is that it's an immune system kind of supporter. So those 3 things, amongst many others, which I'll mention in a second, but those are probably the most important things. So when you're talking to others about it or you decide to use it, it's going to help in all of those cellular systems. One of the reasons I started taking it is because I had to get MRI with an IV contrast of gadolinium, which most people might know or may not know, but it's a heavy metal and it's toxic essentially. So I immediately thought, if I have to get this IV contrast, I'm going to start the glutathione, right? So unfortunately, I am not aware, but I'm pretty sure that it's helping a lot with my brain and hoping to get this gadolinium out, right? We also just have all these pollutants and toxins in our world, as we've talked about on other calls. And those things are just, it's something that is not easy to get rid of or to know about, right? Something that we really may have occurring, but we're not quite sure. This is also really amazing for cellular health of our skin. So it's helping with fine lines and wrinkles. It is also helping with elasticity and, collagen and elastin support. And honestly, like some people are talking about the glutathione glow. So I had quite a few people saying to me, like, what's going on with your skin? I'm happy to admit that I think it was helping. So many other of our peptides are also helping with that, like the GHKCU. But, glutathione for me I had quite a few people saying, what's going on with that? So it's evening out some skin tone. It also actually reduces hyperpigmentation, interestingly. So neurologically, because it's such a good anti-inflammatory, like a lot of our peptides, right? Neurologically, we do know that there's some cognitive decline happening for people, and this is supposed to really support that. If you think of like inflammaging, we could say, right? We don't want our brain to be having inflammatory things going on. So we're really reducing inflammaging here with this. Same with inflammatory processes in the cardiovascular system. We have increased circulation from glutathione, interesting. But there's some peripheral artery disease studies that are going on right now talking about how it's really affecting that and boosting our circulation. So because it's such a cellular helper, I do, and also a DNA kind of protector. I also am really seeing a lot of cancer prevention things that are kind of coming out right now, which is fascinating, right? Mm-hmm. So, how many things can this one tripeptide do? A lot of things. Metabolically, we also have some metabolic health. So it's really good to pair with the GLPs. In my office, we are actually using this for quite a few people who are on a plateau because the detoxification system and a little boost of insulin resistance, and glucose sensitivity. We have seen them really then get the ball rolling when they're kind of stuck on their GLP or GIP-GLP combo plateau. So that's been really exciting to see as well. This is really good to add on as a complement therapy, I think, for a lot of reasons. I actually have so many other things I could talk about. Don't want to be too sciencey, right? But in general, this is a very, very good complement peptide for either our GLPs, for the GHKCU, pretty much any of our other peptides that we have to offer, because it is such a good kind of complementary peptide. I'm super happy to be here, and I'm really appreciative of the time to speak, but also like enjoying all of the journeys, like everyone has mentioned. Such an amazing time to be in this industry, but also to be able to share about the health of peptides. For this one to be a 3 amino acid, basically peptide, and it's natural, right? So it feels super exciting to be able to share with others. And I hope that everyone else is getting as excited as we are, right?
Thank you, Heather. Medical science is still coming to appreciate the full breadth of the aid that comes from these peptides. They still are finding more things that it helps with, which to me is the most exciting part. It's a great time to be alive. So for all of you that have tuned in, get with the person who directed you to this call. All of us are